Hey everybody, welcome to my channel and welcome back to Cinematically Late, the series dedicated to me talking about movies that I may have missed for whatever reason, whether they were in theaters or I just never got around to seeing them. Today we are talking about the animated reboot film, The Addams Family from 2019. Now, I am a pretty big fan of The Addams Family. I feel like that was probably one of the best and most interesting series growing up. There were a couple of live action movies, including obviously The Addams Family as well as The Addams Family Values. Absolute Halloween and kids classics for spooky stuff, especially in spooky season. But I wanted to talk about this animated one because not only is it the most recent one that's come out, but it also happened to be the one that I both have missed out on for the majority of the time since it's been out, but also today they actually announced that there's going to be a sequel upcoming in 2021, so now's the perfect time to talk about it. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it and talk about point number one, which is actually going to be the animation. So this was probably the main draw in terms of what I wanted to see from the Addams Family. I felt like that by them making the jump from live action into animation, there was an animated series back in the day. I don't remember when that came out. It was just a style that was very unique because it was based on the artist's original drawings. And I felt like that was really, really cool because we didn't necessarily have to go with a certain interpretation. We got the originals, but obviously a little bit more 3D, a little bit more interactive, stuff that kids would like to see. Not so much 2D, which isn't a bad thing, but I feel like you really got the depth with this being a full 3D animated movie. And going back to the style, I feel like it really opened up a world of possibilities in terms of what the Addams can do. Because they are working within obviously a digital space, you can do a lot more things in terms of like their creepy and kookiness, which is literally in the song, but I feel like you can really go further in terms of what can be presented. Whereas in live action, you can kind of only go with what you are limited with within the physical realm. With this one, you can have them have a 12-year-old carry a battle axe this 3 times its size, and it'd be obviously hilarious, whereas in live action, you kind of just got to work with how much weight can a kid carry. So this one really adds that emphasis of over-the-top craziness that I think the Addams Family is really known for. And moving right along, that's going to bring me into point number 2, which is the storytelling and the overall story of what the Addams Family was. Now, I felt like it was good. It very much embodied what these characters are, their absolute crazy antics and ridiculous things that they go through. And I really like they kind of made it an origin story as to how Gomez and Morticia ended up getting the house that they live in, like sort of how it works, and a lot of different aspects. I don't want to ruin too much of it for you here, but in terms of how it works and where they live, I feel like that really was interesting because we've never really seen that before as to how they even got to where they were. And I think they played with a lot of certain things, like with Lurch and with a couple of the other minor characters in terms of how they came to be. I thought that was really creative, and I really enjoyed seeing that sort of origin story from the Addams. It doesn't last long. It's not the entire movie. It's not like from them starting from that point and by the end we get to see them as the Addams Family, and with Wednesday and Pugsley, it very much evolves very quickly. But for the most part, being able to see that origin and where they came from, it was kind of nice, especially from a fan who's never really known a lot about their origins. Plus it's being weird, so that just adds to the whole storyline. But after we get to that, and once the family is sort of established and what sort of happens in the storyline, it's actually kind of interesting. It's one of those, once again, fish out of water stories, which is so popular, especially with a storyline like the Addams Family. They are essentially a fish out of water. They are the ones that don't fit in anywhere but with themselves. And that's what makes them so much fun, but there's only so many times you can do that. It worked in the first one, it pretty much worked in the second one, and it just sort of felt like more of the same, even though the storyline was different. They added aspects with like technology and a couple of different things that are totally different that we haven't seen the Addams with before, kind of bringing them into the modern day, which I found that to be a lot more fun than a lot of the aspects that these are just, they're different from us, so let's sort of treat them differently. That part kind of just was overused, I feel like, but I kind of get that's where the Addams Family is a lot of the meat of the story, is they are different from a lot of what we consider to be normal. Now, in terms of the story, I felt like it was good, but there's a very heavy drag in the middle that's just, we kind of get it. Can we just move along and do something more interesting, more fun? Keep the darkness of the Addams Family. There's a storyline with Wednesday in particular that I felt like Wednesday is probably one of the best characters of the Addams Family, especially Christina Ricci's version from the live action. But now that we have it in this, it kind of dragged a little bit. It wasn't the Wednesday that I know. I felt like she wasn't as dark as I wanted her to be, or as she kind of tried to fit in with a lot of the characters of today, like normal people. And I feel like that's just not Wednesday. And I felt like that was the biggest departure from the whole thing. Pretty much everybody was doing their own thing. I like Pugsley's doing his ridiculous preparing for his initiation type of thing. Gomez and Morticia very much themselves. But I felt like Wednesday was the biggest departure. She wants to keep things as dark as possible. But in this one, she wanted to go a little bit more light. She wanted to like wear pink and be like the normal girls. And that just didn't feel like Wednesday. And I think that was the biggest part that I just didn't sit right with me. And despite that point, I feel like overall the characters were very similar to what I imagine the characters to be. There are departures and certain things that you don't really feel like fit, but for the most part, I feel like those characters and the people voicing them did a pretty good job. And that's point number 3, is that the voice acting is pretty good for the most part. Oscar Isaac does Gomez. I believe it's Charlize Theron does Morticia, which I was pretty surprised in that. I'm not a massive Charlize Theron fan, but the fact that she was Morticia and kind of pulled it off in a really good way, I didn't mind it so much. I believe Chloe Grace Moretz plays Wednesday, and Finn Wolfhard plays Pugsley, as well as Nick Kroll plays Uncle Fester. Those are the main voice cast. The one that I felt like had the best was probably actually Oscar Isaac and Nick Kroll as Uncle Fester. Those two were actually really good in their characters. I felt like they were really good animated versions of these characters. Everybody else I feel like could kind of rotate. Finn Wolfhard wasn't overly amazing. I feel like Chloe Grace Moretz wasn't overly great as Wednesday, although she did kind of remind me of her character from Dark Shadows. That's a totally different movie, but kind of along an Addams Family vibe. So I don't know if she got this movie because of that, but again, Charlize Theron does do Morticia, and I feel like she did a really good job and kind of was the dark horse, more or less, of the entire movie, where she was actually a lot better than I would have ever imagined. So those are pretty much all of my thoughts on the Addams Family reboot from 2019. Like I said, it was just recently announced that they are going to be having a sequel coming out in 2021, supposedly. I believe around Halloween, if I remember correctly. I'll put the graphic up here for you guys to check out. I may make a video on whatever's supposed to be coming out today, is supposed to be, when it's, as of the recording of this video, it's technically tomorrow, but today when this is posted. I may do something on it. We'll see. Let me know down in the comment section down below if you guys like this video. If you want to see more about the Addams Family. If you want to see more spooky related stuff, it's kind of what we're going for on the Cinematically Late for this particular month, since it's spooky season and coming up on Halloween. But I also want to know your opinion down below. Let me know. Do you guys want to see a video where I recommend various Halloween movies? Not necessarily reviewing them, but if you want me to talk about just some recommendations, whether it be family movies like Addams Family or if they be something a little bit darker. Let me know down in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, leave a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it if you like this video, as well as hit that subscribe button and share these videos, as I do have a new Cinematically Late every single Thursday, as well as go live every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. But other than that, that's all I really have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll hope to see you in the next one.